Hello, and welcome back to the AusCannaPodcast. I'm your host, Christina McMullen, and today we're joined by Christina Wong, an LA-based creator, edibles expert, and storyteller. We're talking about everything from farm tours, infused cooking, daily cannabis rituals, and the little lessons you pick up when you spend years exploring cannabis culture. Christina is the founder and voice behind Fruit and Flower, her Substack where she writes about food, cannabis, travel, and her own experiences with edibles. She's become a trusted guide for anyone curious about how flavor, intention, and culture come together in cannabis experiences. Her work has connected with readers across the world who follow her for inspiration, education, and the way she brings heart to every story she tells. Before we get started, a quick note. You can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/AusCannaPodcast. Every contribution helps keep the lights on and allows me to bring more voices and stories to our community. Okay, so picture a slow Sunday morning, coffee in hand, a mostly quiet house, and two friends catching up like they've known each other for years. That's the vibe we're stepping into today. So, let's dive right in with some of those rapid-fire questions to get to know Christina a little better. All right, so we start with some rapid-fire questions. Are you ready?
I guess so, yes.
All right, don't overthink it.
Okay.
Favorite comfort show right now?
Great British Bake Off.
Oh, I've never watched that. What's it about?
You've never watched the Great British Bake Off?
No, but is it like one of those like cooking competition shows where it's like crazy, where they're like all have to make the same thing and it's like next level? Your face is telling me I'm way off base.
I'm more surprised because it's just such a TV cultural phenomenon and it's been going on for so many years. But cool. So it's a really, yes, it is a baking competition show, but it's based in the UK, and the US one is not as fun. The UK one with like Paul Hollywood and Prue and everybody there, it's so lovely. Like it's just everybody's so friendly and nice to each other and supportive, and it's really about the creativity of the bake instead of like the competition aspect that shows up in a lot of US reality television. So like that's why I like watching it, because you just sit and you watch and you hear these like lovely home baker stories and their personal stories, and they put in like their art into what they're making, and just the graphics, the music, the way that they have an illustrator draw out what they're making. It's such a nice show to just zone out and like have like happiness and joy in the world for a moment.
Strangely enough, the next question leads right in. Your favorite kitchen tool?
Chopsticks, because it's so versatile. You can use it to like pick things up. You can stir with it. You can poke things, move them around. Also, one of my favorite tools to pack joints with. And you can use it to like take the joint and pass it. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to use as a joint holder, hemostats. You know, like Dr. Hemostats?
Yes,
yeah, because you can really clip them in there and then you can pass around. And then if somebody ups it,
are you a doctor or a nurse or in the medical field? Is that why?
I come from a medical family, and there might have potentially been an occasional hemostat, which sounds really weird, lying around the house. Really weird, but they work phenomenally.
I love the creativity of like the stoner tools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's a scent that grounds you?
Honestly, chocolate chip cookies, just like baked goods. And I don't know if you know, there's a lotion that's called, it's like Palmer's. It's like a cacao lotion. And to me, it smells like cookies. And I love the lotion because I'm like, I just want to walk around smelling like cookies all the time. And then when I started getting more into cannabis and having weed everywhere, and I was like, well, now I just smell like cookies and weed. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Sticking with the edible theme, what's the most underrated edible ingredient?
Underrated edible ingredient. Alcohol tincture.
Oh, I like it. Can I ask you to expand on that just a little?
Yeah, I think that alcohol tinctures feel and sound really intimidating, but it's actually one of the easiest infusions that you can make. And it's the most versatile because it doesn't require any heating, it doesn't require any equipment. And then you can really use that to add it to anything because it's not just an oil, you've got an alcohol, so you can evaporate it. It's more liquid soluble, whereas with a lot of the infused oils or butters or fats, like you're limited to just that. But with an alcohol, you can make all sorts of things.
What's a cannabis trend you're enjoying right now? I'm asking this because you're in the States in LA for the listeners who don't know. And so you have access to a recreational market, we're a medicinal market.
Well, I don't know if it's a trend. We're kind of untrending and declining over here right now. It's really sad and really hard. But the trend I'm really seeing is because honestly, the California cannabis industry is in a free fall right now. What is happening is that there has to be collaboration. What I'm seeing is an incredible amount of collaboration over competition for survival. And that type of collaboration is producing really amazing creative work. It's bringing community together, and community is always thrown around a lot. But for me, I get the benefit of here in California, we have some of the best organic, sun grown craft cannabis in the world. And these small farmers are really being left behind. But the community that they come together to help each other, to collaborate and work, and those of us who are fans of this type of cannabis coming together to help support them during a time of need is really, really beautiful.
I love that so much.
It used to be big parties. When I came on the scene I was like, when I first got into cannabis here in California, it was like peak of all of the money. So it was ridiculous mansion parties all of the time and excessive things being thrown around. And now it's much more intimate. The places and the types of events that are getting more traction are smaller, more intimate, more specific and niche. And I find that to be much more interesting as well.
That's fascinating to me though, because which kind of leads into the next rapid fire question about what's your ideal cannabis session, solo or social? Because I find it fascinating because I'm a very social person. I like to be out. I like to the thought of being out, again, where you are in LA, to be able to just be very free with it, to go to these big social events and social gatherings surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of like-minded people. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, give me more of that. But the truth is, I don't want to say I'm a solo sesh girl. I'm not a solo sesh girl, but I'm more of a smaller, intimate setting kind of girl because I feel like your connection with cannabis it's very intimate. It's different for everybody, and when you're in a smaller setting, it's more engaging, and I think you get more out of the plant in general.
Yeah, I think it's what you're looking for and what's the vibe. The big parties are fun, but they're big parties. It's just, and sometimes, like, especially I notice for a lot of people who are using cannabis, we all tend to be very neurodivergent in some form or matter. And a lot of times these big parties are very loud. There's a lot of stimulation. It's seeing a lot. There's so many people to see because if you kind of go to a few parties and you've been around for a while, you start to know everybody. And it's socially extremely overwhelming. So I find that cannabis just helps, like, just wash that over and handle that moment. But the small intimate events give me the ability to, like, yeah, really enjoy the plant and feel and enjoy the high and the conversation and the connection that can happen that you can't really get at a big party.
Agreed. Agreed. I have a listener submitted question from Tom in Wentworth, New South Wales, and he wants to know one thing you always pack but rarely use.
Oh, I always I'm like, I have a little thing. What's in my little tin? I'm like, what? I always have a little joint ring, but I never use it. Let's see if I can show you this thing. Okay. So I carry this little I carry various bags in my bags.
Yep.
So I have 3 bags that hold the stash. And depending on where I'm going, usually there's like papers. I started carrying this thing to carry ground flower because I was testing some dry herb vaporizers. But usually I keep this. This is like the emergency go kit because anywhere you go, let's make sure I have papers. Oops, papers, a pokey tool to roll your joint because you got to pack it nicely. Always have, or clear a bowl or something. And then this. So I bring it with me because it's so nice. And if I'm passing a joint, but you put the joint in here.
Oh, I love this. Okay. So, listeners, because we are just an audio podcast, but if you hold it over to the side, I'm 100% going to grab a screenshot of it and I'm going to put it in the notes so people know what they're talking about. That's great.
Yeah, it's a little joint ring holder and you like put it on your finger and it clips a joint onto the end. And so sometimes I like to sit and write and do my writing at my computer and then I get to smoke my joint and feel so sophisticated in my Carrie Bradshaw Sex in the City.
I was just about to say, very Carrie Bradshaw of you.
Totally. Or, the bathtub, that's like a nice for a solo sesh because then like you don't, and it leaves my hands free because otherwise I'm like holding a joint and it's all over the place. And even with friends, if I go out and there's like a joint, like if I'm rolling a joint, then like it's easier to pass instead of everyone touching the crutch because now you've got people's fingies touching a crutch. But
I like it.
I don't use it. So the question that Tom asked, which was very good, was what is the tool that I bring with me and pack, but I never use? So I bring it, but I rarely use it, and we just end up passing the joints.
I love it though. I love it. It goes. Look, we've only been recording for a little bit, but we've almost had a full circle moment back to the hemostats and what we were using to hold our roaches.
Yeah.
Necessity. It is the what is it? Necessity is the mother of all invention, I guess.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so very last question. What is your favorite small ritual in your day?
Coffee and weed in the morning. I used to think that I'd be like, oh, I'm smoking too early. I shouldn't. I should stop. No, you know what? I feel better. Like I wake up and I'm not a morning person, so I'm very groggy. And when I wake up, it's a pretty slow start. So I like to like just slow down. I do my admin, I read stuff in the morning, and I have like my little coffee and like just a little wake and bake bong rip. And like that just kind of brightens up my creativity and gets me ready for the day. And that's something I've noticed that like other times when I've skipped it, when I'm like, you know what, I've been consuming a lot. Let me try to consume less. And then like I don't do my morning. I don't have some in the morning and I just wait. I find that I get really grumpy. Like I feel depressed and sad. And then like in the afternoon, I'm like, what am I doing? And then I'll just take a bong hit because it's the afternoon, right? Like we are saying, like I shouldn't do that. Like we're applying alcohol rules to cannabis, right? I shouldn't have a drink in the morning. I'll wait until the afternoon. But if it's medicine and it's making me feel better, then why am I feeling guilty and shame about it?
I'm with you, but I'm a crazy early riser. Like I'm up at like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. And so I like that quiet of the house, having my morning bowl and my morning coffee, and it's all quiet. And then I ease into the day.
Yeah, and it's just such a nice, like I'm not doing a lot. It's like even it's just like a little bit and it just like that combination of coffee and cannabis work so well together. I mean, I've written about the science of like why caffeine and cannabis work so well and how they work like chemically work together to just open up your brain. And that was very cool. When I read about that, I was like, yes, this makes sense why it's such a great combo.
Yeah. And you know what? I look at it more as me time.
Yes.
Right. I really enjoy a good cup of coffee in the morning. And I can admit it, I really enjoy a really good bowl in the morning.
Even the ritual of sitting down and taking the time to roll a nice joint. That's something I notice a lot. Like when I didn't know how to roll a joint and I was always sitting around waiting for someone else to roll one for me. I was like, why is it taking so long? Why are they so slow? Like in my mind, I'm like, hurry up. And I was invited to a party and I was there and I didn't know how to roll a joint at the time. And so all I got was a tray of flour and I was like, okay. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't have friends yet because I was new. And I felt so embarrassed and sad because I was like, I don't know how to roll a joint. And I'm like, waiting to make a friend. And someone taught me how, which was really nice. But after that, I was like, you know what? Like, that was embarrassing. I would like to learn how to roll so that I don't find myself sitting around waiting for someone else to take care of my needs to get high. And so I started asking people to teach me how to roll. And so since then, I've really started to I really enjoy this taking the time just to roll a really nice, really pretty joint and trying different techniques. I love using glass tips. I have really pretty papers that my friends gift me that I use. But it's just taking the time to pack that really beautiful joint, make it nice, make it pretty, do the cute little twist on it, like toast it, like get it just right. Like it takes a long time, but it's that ritual. It's like the same thing where it's like I'm pouring my coffee, and as I'm waiting for the coffee to brew, then I'm like rolling my joint, and then the two shall meet.
I love it. But you're so right. It is a skill, and somebody's got to teach you. Were you given any tips when you were first learning? Because somebody taught me, and it's just really funny because I literally just used this tip like 2 weeks ago when I was in Thailand with somebody who, like you, was like, I have no idea how to roll a joint. And I was like, oh, grasshopper, let me show you. I learned how to roll so this was when I was still living in Texas. So I learned how to roll in an American dollar bill because everybody has a dollar bill, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody has $1 bill. And American money back in the 90s was very, what's the word I'm searching for? Like here in Australia, our money is like, I think it's like a plastic or something, and it's really kind of hard to kind of fold and stuff. But old American money was like fabric, and it would really like just, you could fold
print it on hemp.
See, well played, girl. But you know,
If it is, but I know at one point it probably was.
probably. I mean, these were old dollar bills. Anyways, point is that that's how I learned. I had some fabulous drag queen in Dallas one night at a gay club. We were all sitting around to have a joint, and they handed me the stuff, kind of like you, and they were like, "Here you go, roll." And I was like, ah. And this fabulous drag queen like pulls out this dollar and was like, "Girl, let me show you." I'm like,
So that's like what a amazing best first lesson.
but after they did it, I was like, oh my God, this is so simple. But like I said, I learned in this dollar, and to this day, I still give that tip to people. Oh, just use a dollar to kind of roll with it.
Do you take is it like long wise? So it's like the length of the dollar?
So what you would do is you would fold it in half, right? So not longwise, I guess. What is that? Horizontal?
The hamburger. Yeah.
Yeah, like on the face,
Yes.
right? You'd fold it in half, right? And then the bottom half you would fold in half again. So you had like a little shelf. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then you would sprinkle your weed into that little shelf.
Okay.
And then you would use the dollar to you would push up on the paper, and you would kind of roll it up. And so it would make your little cylinder, right? And then you would take your paper and you would place it, because you would roll it back down, because you would roll it up halfway and then you would roll it back down. So it was nice and not too tight, because we all know if you roll too tight, it won't burn properly. But you figure it out. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
It's like a texture thing with your fingers, right? You figure it out. Anyways, you roll it down and then you put your paper in. So when you put your paper in, zigzags are basically the same width as your dollar bill. So you put it in with the lick'em stick'em part up top facing you.
Okay.
And then you just hold your fingers over to the side and you just slowly roll it up. And the paper will roll around your weed. And as you get closer to the top, then you can just lick it and seal it. Because it should, like, you'll, with your fingers on the ends, you kind of push it up, right? And that's how it'll like loop around. The cheat to that is if you can't get it to loop around, well, then you just kind of tear the little corners on the paper. So it's got a little tear on the two corners. So that way when it rolls in, the tear will hook onto the weed and it'll hook around. And then you've got your yeah, there you go.
Demonstration of that. You need to put this on your Substack. I feel this is so fascinating. I want to see. Please do. I did a joint rolling lesson. I showed 3 ways to roll a joint on my Substack. And one was, I think, with a rolling machine. So the way that you're talking about with the dollar is basically like a manual of the rolling machines. And if people don't have one of those and they don't like rolling joints, honestly, having a rolling machine makes it so much easier. I was kind of anti for a bit because I really wanted to do the art of the hand rolled joint. But sometimes it's just quick, it's easy, and it's done.
Yeah, yeah. Look, those rolling machines are phenomenal, and you're absolutely right. That's what the dollar was. But like I said, back in the '90s, when we still all had cash in our pockets, an American dollar was something that like everybody
Yeah.
had. So it was something that a rolling machine is a piece of paraphernalia you're carrying around, whereas a dollar is just less suspicious.
That's such a good life skill. Thank you to the drag queen who taught you how to roll. That was amazing. I hand rolled my first with the paper crutch. I was actually on a farm in Humboldt. I worked for this company called Papa and Barkley. They're one of California's leading like cannabis wellness companies. They make topicals. And so they were based up in Eureka in all their production because they sourced organic sun-grown farms and like did a solventless process to turn things into rosin to put into their products. And so it was like, I got into this was my first job in the cannabis industry. And so a little bit of history of what happens in cannabis here in background. So cannabis was medically legal in California and it went recreational in about, was that 2016? Yeah, so it switched to 2016. The proposition passed and it became recreationally legal. And so legal dispensaries began opening in California. So this is when the stupid money started pouring in. So this is stupid money time. So from 2016 to about 2019 at 20, yeah, it was like peak stupid money era. And I got into this awesome job. I was so excited to be in the industry. They flew all the employees out to Eureka to be able to go visit the cannabis farms that they source from. And we were like, I was standing in trees. I've never seen anything like this. And so I really had never visited any cannabis farms before then. I knew a lot of agriculture. My background comes from like food and restaurants and working with chefs. And I was always into like working with all of our small farms. And so I visited a lot of our farms that grew up the produce for the restaurants I worked at. And in cannabis, this was the exact same supply chain, just in weed. And the words were different, but the process is exactly the same. And I have never seen anything like this. Like, it's just these beautiful mountains covered in pine trees, and the fog rolls in, and just hidden in these hidden like trails in the mountains are these weed farms, and they're carved out of like between the trees. And these like skies are so blue, and it was the largest tree of weed I have ever seen in my entire life. It was at least 12 feet tall, and you need these huge ladders to get to them. And that was like unbelievable to me. I mean, I think to most people, it's unbelievable. And that was where I rolled my first joint. It was at that harvest party and like with the farmers standing in the rain next to like smoking the weed next to where it was grown. So I consider myself very lucky that that's how I got to learn.
That's fucking magical.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was pretty cool. I'm so lucky that I got to experience the peak of stupid money, honestly. I kind of got in and then it just trailed and I was like, oh boy. But I think that it's a good thing because that's unsustainable. And there's been a lot of loss of respect for the plant and the culture and the history and the origins of California cannabis. Like, it's interesting because here in the States, like the type of cannabis that's sold at the dispensaries is mostly indoor grown. So it's all like indoor, with artificial lights, any variation of that. But somehow there's been a storyline that's been proliferated, and most cannabis consumers believe that indoor is better and more premium and higher priced and cleaner because there's no bugs, there's no air, nothing can, it's completely, sealed in. But that's not true. And somehow along the way, I feel that the sun-grown craft farmers who grow up in the Emerald Triangle, it's like some of the most amazing cannabis I've ever experienced in my life. It's somehow being lost. And that's like if the Champagne region was just disappeared. If these cheese making regions and food, all these beautiful places that make like are known for something just gone because no one appreciated it anymore. It's wild. Like only less than 1% of the dispensaries in California carry craft sun grown. And like, but when you smoke it and when you smell it, it's crazy. Like when it's done really well, it's crazy good. It's like smelling and tasting in 4D instead of 2D.
I'm with you because I guess on some level, some of that narrative is here in Australia. I can admit that when you're walking into facilities and we're talking indoor, beautiful. Those plants are they're beautiful. They're very consistent. They all kind of look the same. And again, they are aesthetically beautiful. And then when you compare that to something that's been grown outdoors sometimes looks rustic, even when it is done well. But there's something about outdoors that I don't care who you are. I honestly feel outdoor is superior. You cannot, I don't care what kind of lights you're bringing in and what fan you're blowing along, blah, blah. You cannot recreate Mother Nature inside of a box.
So on my Substack, I have a section now called Inside, and I do inside
Just before you get too far into it, because I don't think we've mentioned what your Substack is.
Oh, yeah.
It's Fruit and Flower Co. And it's fabulous. And let's shamelessly plug it because that's how I found you 3 years ago.
Yes.
I do want to say that real quick before, because we are just keep saying Substack, and I just want to shamelessly plug your Substack. I did. I found you 3 years ago, and I just wanted to say real quick that 3 years ago when I first started on Substack, there was no content. And it was shitty cannabis content. And I found you, and you were fabulous. And you like we were saying again before we turned the mic on with Dr. Riley Kurt, you also break things down very simple. You break away the stigma. You make it very digestible to understand, and it's fabulous. So Fruit and Flower Co. Substack. Okay, there's a section on your Substack that says...
Thank you. Yes. So my Substack is fruitandflower.substack.com. And it's Fruit and Flower. There's an actual podcast with seasons. And then now I just kind of do episodes with videos and if it feels like a podcast, I turn on the podcast feature. But on my Substack, Fruit and Flower Unfurled, I mean, it's kind of like a whole like foodie, weedy travel magazine is what I realized I created. And I have a section on there called Inside. And I get invited to some really amazing places. So because I worked in the industry, after that, I became an influencer, I suppose. It's still weird to me, but cool. I'm just going to embrace it. A weed influencer. Here I am. And then I was also a writer. So I wrote for Thrillist. I wrote for a lot of different publications. So I got press passes to go in different places. And so now just because of my relationships and my body of work, I get invited by a lot of these brands to go and farms to go visit. So if you go to the inside section of my Substack, you'll see an inside tour of Pure Beauty. They're a classic indoor grow in Sacramento. So they're like one of like celebrity fandom weed. You know Pure Beauty. They've got the eyeballs. You probably have seen the branding. And their head grower, Lou Carrasco, who's just absolutely lovely. What a wonderful human being and man. And he said that no matter what they do here in indoor, they cannot replicate sun-grown. There's 11 to 15 different compounds in the plant that is created in sun-grown plants that indoor cannot make, and they just can't figure out. So he's like, I agree, it's better, but like, he's like, I like that, but you know, sun-grown is so challenging because you're so limited and it is very hard. Whereas with indoor, you can control all of the elements and therefore get more harvests throughout the year to make it a more profitable business. And then I also got to tour glasshouse farms. So for those of you who might know, they're very controversial. They recently were raided by ICE agents and people died. It was very sad. It was horrible and bad. But they're also controversial because they're owned by people who are former cops. They're huge. They're the largest grower in the world. Their facility, they took over the Howlings tomato and cucumber like greenhouses in Camarillo, and it's an amazing site. So you can also tour inside their facility there. It's just these rows and rows of plants, and you see the water reflecting, and above is like these Dutch style greenhouses. It's a beautiful site, but like you walk in, and honestly, it kind of felt soulless. It honestly felt like all of the plants were like in an insane asylum. It was very hard. And I don't know if I'm a plant empath. I don't know what happened. I smoked weed and all of a sudden I got all these feelings and I walked in this place and I was invited by them to go on this tour. And they were very lovely and very kind to invite us and take us on this tour. And every ounce, every part of this plant's life is controlled from the very beginning to the very end. And then, like, walking through the processing facility, it just, like, I could feel the plants and that hurt. But the weird thing was when I was at Pure Beauty, I was actually wondering if I might have the same feeling because they were also growing indoor like that. Did not have that feeling. Those plants are different. And it was like interesting. So to me, it's like, right, it's not the style of the growing that is the problem. It's what is your intention? Who's growing it? How? Why? Where's the love being put into it? You can also see and compare. So if you've never been able to visit or see any of these humble farms, I have 2 different sun-grown farms up right now. You can tour Soul Spirit Farm. They're up in Trinity County, and you can go glamping and actually stay at the property and tour. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. That's a Judy and Walter, and they're so nice. But they grow using like a jadam natural, like Korean style fertilizer. So they use everything from the land because they're in the middle of nowhere. You use what's from the forest. And then also, I recently got to go to Moonmaid Farm right at harvest time. So we got to see the plants in their like full peak ripest form and help with harvest. And so you can see what her plants look like. Hers are some of the most magnificent colas I've ever seen. And she's at the very, very top of this beautiful place on the hill in southern Humboldt. And the view is breathtaking. You should go watch that video just for the view alone. Also, there's a DJ set in the garden while we were harvesting that is definitely worth getting high and jamming out to with us.
I love it. There's a part of me that's like, one day, Australia, we'll get there. One day we'll have cannabis tourism and it'll be great. And we'll talk about rolling joints on the beach.
I mean, it's interesting because there is cannabis tourism, but it's not this. I try to show this side of the industry, and I'm trying to figure out how to bring people to see it because a lot of people don't want people up in their business. It's inviting trouble. And so, but it's also so beautiful to experience. It's difficult to get to. It took me 5 years of slowly going up and down and making friends and staying and figuring out. And also, it's like I'm not spending a ton of money. I'm really staying with friends and farmers along the way. So those relationships to be built to be able to like do the drive in a leisurely, fun way and like visit friends and tour. And all of these farmers are so welcoming. It's been amazing. And actually, this Wednesday, so coming up soon in my Substack, I'm going to have an inside tour of Maven Genetics. They're another indoor growing facility here in Los Angeles, and they're known for like super premium indoor flowers. They're more on the bro side. So I joke that the industry here, like, it's just so bro-y. But they've been nothing but lovely, and I'm excited to see how they grow. Their head cultivator used to grow sun-grown, he told me, outdoor in Mendocino, and now he's growing indoor. So I'm curious to see what, his differences and learnings and how he notices things.
You've clearly been to a lot of farms just from this little chat. I've been to a few farms. What are some of the things that really stand out to you when you're touring these facilities? Because I'm not a grower, and I joke all the time that like my idea of growing when I used to do it back in the day was, don't worry, we'll put some fish tank water on it, we'll throw some more chicken shit at it, and it'll be fine, right? Because I joke, weed's not hard to grow, it's easy to grow. Phenomenal weed is extremely difficult. So when I walk through these facilities, I'm sure I'm not looking for things that I should be looking for, like, but what are some of the things that you look at when you're touring through?
Yeah, when I'm walking through the facility, one, I'm like, what does it just feel like? Are the people who's working there? Are they happy? What do they look like? And like the plants, I'm looking at, is it clean? Where are the plants? Is it clean? Are they getting clean water? Are they using sustainable ingredients? Like a lot of the places are using rock wool, and rock wool is actually terrible for the environment. And so then it kind of starts. If you don't care enough to use a better quality ingredient, then okay, what else does that tell me about the process? I'm looking for mold. I'm looking for things. When I went through Glasshouse, there was a lot of powdery mildew on all the plants, and they didn't really seem concerned that I asked them questions about it and was taking pictures. So that was interesting. Um, I'm looking for, are there bugs? What do these plants? And also, if I'm being taken on a tour, like I also know that they're showing me exactly what they want to show me, like, whoever it might be. So I'm usually just kind of mostly listening. I'm curious to hear. I'm not necessarily like checking their plants. I'm really just trying to learn like what's their perspective? Why do they grow? What's their
You,
passion?
I was gonna say, you just actually said something that's really important there that I think I don't highlight enough when I'm talking about it. Your background is also food and hospitality. I've got a background food hospitality. When the food inspector shows up because somebody's complained about food poisoning in your place, you don't know. They just show up. They walk in the back. They look at your kitchen. They look at your temperature logs. They start temping this and you have no idea. They're looking in your bath. They're everywhere. You have no idea when they show up because they're showing because somebody said that they're sick or whatever it is. And so you're like, ah. So you always try to run a tight ship. But you mentioned, and again, something I don't mention enough is that when we go on these tours, we know that they are showing us the best of the best, right? They're showing us what they want to see. So it has been a little cleaned up because they know ahead of time, oh, guess what? Christina is coming in, 3 days. So it needs to be a little bit cleaner. She might take a picture that she puts up on social media. She might write a story about it. So it is a curated experience on some level.
Yeah. Some of them are very curated. Like that Glasshouse trip, like it was a creator trip. They drove us up in a whole limo bus. There was a whole thing. Other ones, it's just like, oh, like then I'm like, hey, I'm over in town. Can I stop by? And like, so you can also tour inside the Kiva factory. So Kiva is one of the top edibles makers here in the US. And especially in California, they make their Camino gummies are very well known and popular. They make the chocolate bars. And they invited me in. I got to go tour and put on the whole hat. It was like going to like the See's chocolate candy factory. Like you got to see like the assembly line and all the gummies being made in the molds. Those were cool.
That sounds awesome. Because you do make your own edibles, how do you approach like your dosing from like a creative standpoint rather than, I guess, a clinical one?
I do the math and I did some variations and I'm like, this is so low dose, the variation is negligible. So when I write my recipes and I do my edibles, I generally dose them for about like 5 milligrams per serving because it's easy to multiply up and down with the number five. And then it's, yeah, like sometimes I'm like, even if I'm a little bit off, it's like the difference of 4 milligrams or 6 milligrams. So when I make my infused like butters or oil, a way that I approach my recipes differently than most, I think almost honestly every other recipe writer I've seen and how people write about edibles. So most of the time people make like a big batch of butter or oil. And then you parcel out and figure out how much you need and put that in the recipe you're making. And then you need to like do some backwards thinking to figure out how much of whatever you need to omit to make that work. So to me, that was too complicated. And when somebody explained that to me, like my mind was like, I couldn't, I was like, why are we doing it this way? So for me, it made a lot more sense to just simply infuse the fat that was going to be used in the recipe with exactly what I need for that one recipe. So then I don't have a bunch of jars of butters and oils laying around of mystery potency, which I have some now because I was doing Cookbook Club, another section on my Substack that you should follow along if you like to bake and cook. So I made some butter from Vanessa Livrato's cookbook, How to Eat Weed and Have a Good Time. And because I was like, let me follow along, let me do it someone else's way and see like how I feel about it. And so it's nice actually. So next Cookbook Club, I'm going to use the butter for another recipe. But I think it's just like if that works for you. But normally I'm not the type of person who has a bunch of butter in my fridge. I just want to make one batch and that's it.
think that's why I liked your content so much because it's like, okay, I'm making this. And so I need to make that for my edible. Because you're right. Like, well, who's got time to make a big ass batch of butter and then do the math backwards? Nope, I don't have time for that. I just need to know that if I'm making brownies, that I need, whatever it is, the half cup of whatever, and that is what is in there and that it's infused, it's just ready to go. It's
Yeah.
done.
And if you're a baker and like baking, like the amounts of things have to be precise. It's if the recipe calls for half a stick of butter, I can't just take, an extra tablespoon of butter or multiple tablespoons of the can of butter and just add it. Like you have to subtract. And that was too much for me to process.
You're absolutely right. Because when you're baking is an exact science. I'm assuming, do you do by weight or no, you don't do by weight. You do
I'll do
by,
both.
you do, yeah.
So yeah, US does usually like the cups and the measurement system.
Yeah.
And a lot of recipes will do weights. I like weight. Once I had the tools, I was like, yes, this is way easier. But when I didn't have a scale, it made it challenging.
Doing everything by weight is where it's at. Once you kind of figure out what you're doing and how your recipe works and like what you're saying, your slight little variances, but then you nail it on like the weight and this and that, which is something I tell people all the time when they're making edibles at home here because we can buy our oil with our prescription. We get our oil. And so then if you are somebody that wants to make an edible, I'm always like, I'm like, no, man, just take that oil and just put a couple drops into your brownie recipe. Like don't take that oil and then put it in the butter and then try to make like I'm like you're making it more complicated than what it needs to be. I'm like it's a fat, just couple whatever your dosage is.
That's exactly what I was saying about the alcohol tincture earlier, to come back, circling back. I love these high conversations and things always come back around.
They do.
That you can just take the alcohol tincture and dose the whole thing. And I actually really like using tinctures as a shortcut to infusing anything because sometimes I'm like, I just don't have time. I don't want to, the decarb, you have to infuse. It's a whole process. But I'm like, if I already just have like a flavorless oil tincture that's pretty strong and you just put like a few droppers in, perfect.
I can admit I probably should do some more exploring with tinctures because I'm somebody that's always struggled with edibles. And so I would make them for friends, but just accepted that I'm just one of those weird people that just can't get high on edibles. And then I discovered nano emulsions and it was like this, I was like, oh my God, it's such a game changer. Oh, edibles are so great. But nobody here in Australia makes a nano emulsion. I have to get it like compounded for me. But my dream, if anybody is listening, is one day I'd like to be able to get a bottle of nano emulsion and literally just a couple drops in my morning coffee.
Wait, so tell me, I'm so curious. So what is the cannabis market and culture like in Australia? So you have a medical market and you can get prescriptions?
So it's strictly a medical market. We don't have a recreational market here. And basically, it is a last resort kind of thing. It used to be a little bit looser where you could just say, hey, I'm having trouble sleeping. Can I get some cannabis to help with that? But they've started cracking down. But essentially, the way it works is that you have to show that you've tried all these other things before you can get cannabis. Cannabis is a last treatment option kind of thing. There are a lot of areas of opportunity within the system, a lot of things that I feel could really be improved. But on the whole, it's a pretty good system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is it flour?
No, so we can get flour, we can get various concentrates. The concentrates market is definitely getting better than what it has been over the previous years. But we can get vape cartridges now. There's some companies that are coming out with you can get your hash, you can get and I am not an extracts girl, and so I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it, but why can I not think of what it's called? But it's where you put it in the banger and what is it called? Not shatter, but it's
Rosin?
like rosins and stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, I cannot believe
Yeah,
I
that's a whole other world. Yeah, the dabbing concentrates world is a whole other world, and it's wild.
It's not me. I'm a flower girl. I like to touch my flower.
I wasn't, and I was so scared at first. And then I started with a baby dab, and then I got a little more dabs, and then I got gifted more products, and then I got gifted devices, and then I went to more parties, and my tolerance skyrocketed, and now I can handle so many dabs. But wow, so one of the award-winning ones here is called iPoppy, and they source from Sungrown, and the one that's been award-winning, the strain is called Whitethorn Rose. Oh, it's such a happy, fun, dancey, euphoric sativa. They also make edibles with it. But the founder was here at my house. We were hanging out. He was telling me about it, and I just got so excited. I was like, I want this so much. I'm like salivating. I took too big of a dab, and the next thing I knew, I was literally just stuck, and I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I was just comatose. I saw double vision. My thoughts were being projected in front of me like I was playing like pianos, like on a scale on a piano with my hands, but my thoughts, it was so weird. It was like a psychedelic trip, and then I ended up barfing in front of the founder, and that was very sad. Um but they were very kind. Everybody was like, it's okay, it happens. And I was like, yeah, you're right, it does, because I've been there when it happens to others, and we're still buds. It's all good.
You know what,
And it's
though? That's the best thing about the community. They're like, oh, don't worry, girl. You just puked. That was a little too much for you. We've all been there. Let me help you.
that is true. I will say, it's so funny because like having formerly been an outsider of the community, I was always friends with kind of the stoners, but I was not really a consumer myself when I was younger, and then I never really felt in. And one now that I'm in, I'm like, wow, everyone's so nice. Everyone is so happy to teach you how to roll a joint, how to help you and like hold you and talk to you and like give you water if you've overconsumed. Like it's so nice. It's such a kind, wonderful place.
It is. It is. It's, what's funny is that I look back on my early days with cannabis, like back in the 90s, living in Texas and, Mexican dirt. And then when I got up to Vancouver and then just having my mind blown in the early 2000s with Vancouver and being like, oh my God, how is this the same plant, guys? Like, what are you even talking about? Same plant here. But all the way along, just nobody gate kept information from me. Everybody that I met, and I have asked some stupid fucking questions. Yeah. They all just open arms and embraced me and was like, oh, little grasshopper, you were so young. Let me teach you something. Or, oh, you are clueless. You have no idea. Come over here. Let's show you this. Right. And again, having a moment where you're like, oh my God, I have consumed way too much. Can somebody just get me some water? And somebody's there with water. And they're like, been there, been you. Here's some water. You're going to need that.
Yeah, and then it was like, I'm so sorry. At my parties, sometimes that happens too. And several people were like, they're so embarrassed. I was like, don't be embarrassed. Been there. I might be there later. It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't want to. Sometimes it's an accident, and I don't want to promote overconsumption, but it's just like, sometimes shit happens. And the best thing you can do is just know that you're going to be okay. And then know that and people got you and it's going to pass. And you don't have to feel ashamed of barfing.
It will pass. It will pass. I think one of the best tips, I'm trying to think of who gave it to me, but one of the best tips I ever got, if you get into a situation where you overconsume and you're like, holy shit, I'm way too high for my fucking own good right now, is to take a deep breath, count to 3, open your eyes. Now find 3 things that are red and say them out loud. And so you find your 3 things that are around you that are red. Okay, now close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, count to 3, exhale, open your eyes. Find 3 things that are orange and say them out loud. And you go through Roy G. Biv. And by the time you get to Biv, you've reset your thought process. So you're no longer in your like loop in your head where you're freaking out or you're like, oh my God, I'm too high, I'm too high, I'm too high. Now you're like, oh man, I need to find 3 violet things. And violet, who has anything that's violet these days? For reals, right?
I've never heard that. This is what a fun conversation today. Thank you. Yeah, I've never heard that. I mean, my tips are like, go drink some orange juice, fruit juice, get some juice in you, sugars, electrolytes, get cold water, very helpful. Smell, lemons are nice, citrus.
Cracked pepper. Cracked pepper. Have you ever done that? I've never done it, but I've had friends tell me that it works wonderfully.
Telling it helps. It also just helps brighten and make you more awake. I think that's more the idea, that it's just trying to get you more awake instead of stuck. I'm also just like, sit down in this nice, cozy, soft spot. Let me give you a blanket. Here's some water here, and just go to sleep. It's gonna be fine. Just go to sleep. But okay, circling back. So you're saying, okay, so once you get your plant, you were talking about the dabs. I diverted. We're gonna come back. So who is growing? Like, who makes the products and who's growing the products? Like, what is that like?
That's an excellent question. So we do have local growers for sure. I wish there were more because unfortunately right now I'd venture to say I don't know exact stats, so I'm not going to pull something out. But I do know that the vast majority of our products, whether they are flowers or carts or concentrates or whatever it is, they are being imported. A large chunk of it comes from Canada. We're starting to see a large chunk come in from Thailand now. And I wish that the Australian government would support Aussie homegrown more because I think we can do it here. We just need more support to do it. There's a lot of hoops that the growers and companies have to jump through to get their license, to get this, to get that, and a lot of additional just bullshit fees that the Aussies are paying that the companies that are importing in don't pay. And so they're at a real disadvantage from the get-go, which is a complete pisser.
Don't have any like local Australian growers and producers. There's some, but not a lot.
Over the last year, there's been some more that have come online, but at the beginning there was a handful, if that.
And you don't have home grow. Like, there's no home grow.
No. And well, okay, let me back that up. The ACT, the Australian Capital Territory, they just decriminalized in, I believe it was 2020. I'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it was at the beginning of 2020. So the ACT is like this little tiny little bubble that's inside of New South Wales, which is basically, if you will, the equivalent of our Washington, D.C. Like, that's our capital. That's where Parliament is. So that little circle, the ACT, again, which would be very much like Washington, D.C., they decriminalized. And so in that little circle, you can grow, I believe it's 2 plants per person and up to 4 plants per household. But it's my understanding that it can only be grown outdoors. You can't supplement it with any light. It is literally like you can grow it, but you know what I mean? Like, it's outdoors and that's it. It can't be anywhere where anybody can see it, all of that sort of stuff, which makes sense.
Outdoor, but people can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can't, like I said, you can't have any supplemental light or anything like that to help it.
It's so funny. Like, just listen. I was so excited with this conversation because I'm just so curious about what cannabis is like in other countries. And like, you also like just how people think about it. Like, what's the approach? But it's like, you can't put any light on. You're like, okay.
To me, that was like a really weird thing to read in like the fine print about it. I'm like, well, okay.
I mean, you can put light on your indoor plants, right?
Oh, yeah, but not your cannabis plant. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame.
Well, I mean, okay, I don't know if you heard the news lately. So with the government shutdown and then the bill that reopened the government, which was great, but they inserted and slipped at the very last minute because, all of these senators and politicians are pieces of shit. They slipped in this bill that basically killed THC, hemp-derived THC. And so that also includes seeds. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't think any of us know. This is all, they have a year to figure this out. I feel like
it's wild times in the States, to say the very least.
I can't even. I'm just trying to stay centered and focused on the thing, but we'll see what happens. But I think, the right to home grow is really important. That was one of the things that was very much advocated for to get California legalized in Colorado. I mean, it's like growing your own medicine, growing your own food is important. It is a right. It is, I mean, I could go down a whole other rabbit hole with this conversation, but the fact that taking away the ability to be able to grow your own food and medicine, like, that's just a whole other
I think that that's something that I'm definitely going to start being more vocal about next year and really starting to advocate more for next year is, unfortunately, here in Australia, I feel like and maybe it's happening there in the States as well, we're on this race to the high THC, high THC, high THC, high THC, and that's all we care about for some fucked up reason. And it was devastating in the sense that I was just in Thailand, and I smell everything. I'm a big smeller. Smell. And I stumbled across this flower, and it was called green apple. And when I opened the jar, I was like, holy shit, this is Jolly Rancher's green apple right here. This is like so fucking for not. I was like, the group that I was with, I was literally shoving this jar in everybody's face. I was like, you gotta smell these. Like a crazy girl, right? And it was really sad because as I was talking to the guys there at the company, long story short with it, it's a product that'll probably never see the light of day in Australia because it's 19%. And they're like, it's just not viable for your market. And I'm like, I don't care. No, I'm like, dude, if you can open that jar and smell it, you ain't gonna care what the 19% is. You're gonna be like, give me more of that. But to just hear that was so, I was like, oh my God, I do need to advocate because the flowers that I want are probably never gonna come to market here because I don't give a shit about THC.
Yeah, the business of cannabis is really intense. It's, the way I've been really able to navigate it and understand it in a better way is there's a masculine and there's a feminine. And I find that the more masculine approach, and this is not a male female. This is just like energetically, right? Something, it just, right now it's high THC, intense, move, money, business, more, bigger, more, faster. And then there's a feminine side that is more in tune with nature, more intuitive, more flexible. And, that's this masculine feminine can be used as an analogy for lots of things. But in the business of cannabis, I think like it's two very different sides that I see that aren't being balanced. And I see the medical side being forgotten. But yeah, everything's being pushed to high THC. I budtend at a dispensary here in Los Angeles, and I love it there. But yes, I see people like they just care about THC. And I ask, sometimes I ask people, I'm like, hey, like, why are you looking for that? Is there a particular reason? And they say they can't feel it, but also it's just in the logic brain that most people have because they don't understand cannabis in that way. All you can do is, I want the best value. The best value must be the highest THC percent. And yes, there's a lot of education that could be had, but someone just has to be even willing to accept that information in the first place. So I agree. Yes. At the dispensary I'm at, we're one of the very few only places in Los Angeles that carries craft outdoor sun-grown. We started as a medical market dispensary 18 years ago. So they've been serving the community for a very long time, way before I was there. I'm just lucky to have a job there in my neighborhood. But a lot of the people who come in, I get a lot of people. Some people just only want highest THC because they think that that's the value and that's what they need to feel high. Other people are just in severe pain. They need that much, which I understand. And then I think there's also the enjoyment of it. What are you using it for? A lot of people are actually asking for and craving some of these lower THC. They're like, it's too intense. So you have a bifurcated market. I'll call it the masculine and the feminine, where it's like one is just high potency, and that's where you're seeing liquid diamonds mixed with more keef and more things. And it's just as much THC as possible. And then you have this other side that's looking at more of the unique cannabinoids, some more of the medicinal ones. CBG's become really popular here. It's one of my favorite ones, honestly, for anybody who has any pain. CBG is wonderful. THCV for focus, for productivity, CBN, CBC, even like THCVs and CDBV or anyways, lost all the letters. I'm too high.
We are I am thankful for that because we are starting to see some of those minor cannabinoids really, I guess, get some attention here in Australia. We did one of my favorite products on the market, and I probably shouldn't say that because it makes it sound like I'm endorsing it, but it's a CBG keef. I fucking love it.
Yes.
It's like buttery goodness, and I like to sprinkle it on things. And for me, if I have a flower that's kind of fruity and I sprinkle the CBG keef on it, I'm like, ooh, it's like a
I love the CBG keef. Miabe brought me some, and that was the first time I had just plain pure CBG in keef, and it was so nice. And so, for those who are listening, CBG is the mother cannabinoid. All the cannabinoids start off as CBG before they become THC, CBD, and all of the other things.
yeah, like and sometimes you think it's the THC that you want, but lo and behold, you're like, it's actually the CBG that I wanted.
A lot of people who come in for pain, they're just and they don't know because they did research and they're like, I just know this information. I was like, okay, but there's so many more new products and new research that's coming out. And so I'm like, have you tried CBG? And I'll show them tablets. We have like RSO tablets that are CBG, RSO syringes.
Ah.
There's this one really yummy tincture by a company called Yummy Karma, and it's a 10-10-1 ratio. So 10 CBG, 10 CBD, and 1 THC, and it's dragon fruit flavor, and it's so yummy, and it's just like I normally don't go through a lot of products because I get so much. I finish those bottles so fast. It's just nice. Like it makes my body feel like jello. It's good after a long day if I know I'm going to be on my feet for a long time. Um, CBG is such a nice. I'm glad to see it's coming out, but I highly recommend that one for people who experience a lot of pain.
Yeah, like I said, it's really nice to start seeing a lot of those minor cannabinoids, kind of CBG, CBN. They're starting to get a little bit of a foothold here, and it is that education. It's having those conversations with people, with patients, with everybody that, again, THC is great, but have you tried this? Have you thought about that? Again, there's so many things out there.
If you're able to grow your own too, you get to try all these things. You get to control your own medicine. You get to make sure that it's organic. I mean, that's the other thing is like a lot of these products that are going out there that people are buying and treating them and thinking that they're medicine. I'm like, this is not medicine. These are chemicals and trash. It just is. I'm sorry. Like it hurts me every time I have to sell them one, but that's what they want. And I think that people are forgetting that in this race to make money and profit off of this. I'm watching people like they come multiple times a day. And I'm like, I know these products, like some of these products are not good. And like the shop I work at, we try to carry like the best versions of those, but like, I'm just seeing everyone come in, and even people who come in and they're getting edibles. And I'm like, you're trying to solve your problems with sugar.
Yeah, the struggle's real, right? The
Yeah.
struggle is real. But like you're saying, you do what you can, you educate the
Mhm.
best you can, and you hope that you give people enough tools that when they're out there, they make the best choice for them.
Yep. And that's why I decided to do what I do and write and kind of use these analogies because it's like I know that we all know the food analogies, whether or not we live by them. Like I don't always eat only organic and the best of this. Like that I'm realistic, sometimes budget is a concern or just even availability, accessibility. And there's a balance. But if I know better, then I can make a better choice when it matters, when it's important. I see I treat a lot of people who come in who have a lot of medical issues too, because we start off as a medical dispensary, or caregivers coming in, helping their families. And, it's like they're going through chemo treatments. It's like, I want to make sure that they're getting the cleanest, best medicine possible. But so often because this industry, it's so intense here in California, and it's hard for the average consumer. It's hard to even know what is what and what's true because they're not paying attention to this info. There was even this huge Los Angeles Times did this investigative story about pesticides and all these products. I still see people asking for all these brands like they don't care.
I will say that's one of the things that's fabulous about Australia is that we have some of the craziest pesticides, microbial, like you got to have nothing in that bad, but like clean when it comes clean weed because we test for it and we again talking with growers, talking with companies, they all say the same thing that Australia has got some of the like just incredibly stringent rules to what is actually in that end product. So I am very thankful for that because I would like to believe that we won't run into an issue where, whoever's doing a big expose on pesticides in my flowers. I hope, fingers crossed.
If anyone wants to read that story, it's a good one. It's
I'll drop it in the show notes.
LA Times pesticides. It's a multi-part piece. It's very good. It was very well researched. I think it won a prize, won one of the big prizes.
Yeah. Like it was a very interesting read, which was one of the reasons why I was like, again, I don't want to say that wouldn't happen here in Australia, but I'd like to believe because we are so stringent with stuff that it wouldn't. Christina, it's been fucking fabulous talking to you, and I feel like I could just sit here.
More questions.
I know. I feel like I could just sit here and yip yap with you for a whole another hour, just blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But we should probably wrap it up. Before I let you go, though, I always like to ask my guests to leave us with some sort of parting nugget of information or a call to action. So hit it. What do you got for us, Christina?
Oh, goodness. Everybody learn to roll a joint. It's a good skill to have. It's just the patience. It takes time. Know that it just practice. You're not going to get it right. And every time I would meet somebody, I would ask them if they would show me how they would roll a joint. And they would show me. And I didn't always, each person's tips didn't always work for me. But along the way, I kind of found the ones that worked for me. And then I now have my own technique of rolling that works. So make sure you roll a joint. Don't be afraid to ask. Everybody's so nice, so friendly. Go travel, go visit, Yeah.
I love it, girl.
Follow my Substack. Subscribe to my Substack. Also, that's how I found your Substack because thank you so much. I get by far the most referrals of subscribers from yours. So thank you so much for recommending me. And I was looking at my stats. I was like, what is this? What? So I'm so stoked to have so many Aussie followers. And one of my goals for the next year is to travel more and to be able to see more of the world and get out and do more teaching and educating. So I would love to stop by, have a sesh with y'all.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the AusCannaPodcast. A huge thank you to Christina for sharing her stories, insights, and wisdom with us today. If you want to explore her work further, check out Fruit and Flower on Substack. Her essays are thoughtful, grounded, and full of flavor, travel, and cannabis knowledge. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be forever grateful if you could leave a 5-star review or share it with someone who might find it useful. You can also support the show directly at buymeacoffee.com/AusCannaPodcast. Until we meet again, friends, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. And remember, Rick Rubin once said that when you create something, the audience always comes last. Because when you try to make something you think someone will like, that's not art. It's commerce.